As fit celibate men, we've got 99 problems. But you know what? Having a full sack is not one of those problems. And especially when it comes to these women out here who are going to try to make you feel insecure about who you are and why you're doing what you're doing. Because I have developed a reputation in my town for being someone that doesn't take relationships willy-nilly. You know, I'm not really like liberal in my sense of sexual intimacy, and that's caused a lot of women to want to be with me, and it's caused a lot of women to resent me, and they project those insecurities onto me. Now, I'm not saying that I have no insecurities or whatever the case is, because that's not the case. There are attachments that I still have. I'm not yet a free being. I'm not a free, fully self-realized being. Otherwise, I wouldn't have any attachments. But I know I have attachments, and that's something that I'm working on letting go, and that's just how it is. You know, it's nothing wrong with that. It's just the way that it is. And I know I'm not the most fit, ripped man in the world, but the other day I'm carrying 100 pounds on my back running around the track at the gym, and I just went for as long as I could, and I thought to myself, man, I really don't see a lot of men doing this, and especially when I go out. I don't travel too much anymore, but when I go out, it's like the depleted coomers come out to play, man, and they're creepy with it. They, like, some men, a lot of women will say, oh, men are creepy, and you know what, some of them kind of are. Some of them kind of are. But what we don't talk about enough is the creepiness of women. Women will get super stalkerish around you as a fit celibate man who they know that they can't have, and that's like one of the reasons why they've got ST demons. They've got ST demons because that's all that they do. They don't know anything else other than to participate in these degenerate behaviors. And in the Regal Academy, I have the Art of Seduction class that's available until September 6th. Now available, and when I was making the class and I was updating it, because it's a re-release of the class, and when I was making some updates with it, I was like, this is not like a romance, how to seduce somebody type of a book. This is a psychology of manipulation type of a book. And women are so good at this nowadays. We don't even realize how good they are when it comes to psychological manipulation. And they're super great at being able to manipulate others. Like, they have a really high ability to manipulate, but they also have a very low ability to recognize when they're being manipulated. So as a man, what I have seen and studied, and just in my own life as well as in these books, not that I'm like I'm a super scholarly figure, because I am at war with the education system, but I'm not necessarily, and the religionists and the politicians and the government, but I'm not necessarily somebody that's focused on trying to appear to be intellectual. I like to speak the way that I do, and I've been told that when people read like my book, or when people read or just like listen to me talk, sometimes they have to look up certain words. But I try not to be too much intellectual in these types of conversations, because I want to be able to speak to as many people as possible, and I am aware that it takes great wisdom to be able to speak something simply that is complex. And so that's what I aim to do in these videos. But also, when it comes to the psychology of manipulation, what I've determined as far as a man is concerned is you are not to act like the fool. Do not act like the jester in the court, okay? You must be a king. Women around you must respect you. They don't know if you portray yourself as a jokester or a trickster or a jester of the court, that's fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're with your boys or you're with your, you know, with your guys or whatever, and you want to just hang around and have a good time, that's fine. But you know what's crazy is when you do that, you start to, especially with women, you start to really put yourself in a position where you won't be respected, because you've got to have that mix. I'm not saying don't be funny or whatever. I'm just saying you've got to be able to access the king archetype as well as the trickster archetype and channel it through your vessel that is this meat suit accordingly. You know, because otherwise you're not going to. And channel the warrior archetype as well. Like, there are 4 really main archetypes to think about when it comes to integration. There's the king, the warrior, the magician, and the lover, right? These are very, very basic. There's a whole book on it, right? And it's a very interesting book by Robert Moore and I don't remember the other author's name, but Robert Moore is one of the disciples of Jung and Carl Jung and all that. And what I've determined is that accessing these archetypes are good, but and integrating them is very important. However, for myself, I'm more interested in timelines and the Regal timeline theory. For the Regal Change old timers, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But for the people that are maybe new to this channel, then you might not know. So what I talk about when it comes to the Regal timeline theory is essentially that we are either on timelines or oriented in timelessness. So what that means is that you're either projecting narrative structures into the symbolic narrative field, or you are catapulting yourself into like this everlasting falling quality where there's no ground. You're just in timelessness and you're just kind of floating through life. Now, I don't mean floating as in like, oh, just take me where the wind takes me. No, because you've got to be the circumstance. It's part of accessing the king archetype, is being the circumstance. And especially when it comes to being fit, you know, you don't have to be the most like ripped dude in the world. Okay, you don't have to be the most like jacked whatever guy. I'm just saying that being healthy, you know, is super important. And a lot of women are going to be really upset by you being healthy. You're sexually disciplined. You've got your stuff together to some degree. Maybe, you know, I don't drink personally. I just don't really like drinking. I've never really enjoyed drinking. And I know that there's a lot of men who are being challenged with certain addictions and such, and women. Women have their own types of addictions. Women are really more addicted to attention in their phone, whereas men, generally speaking, would be more addicted to alcohol or, you know, smoking, drugs, all that type of stuff. Now, I do smoke tobacco once in a while. I would say it depends, you know, it depends. Like sometimes if I'm really in my shamanic alchemist type of mood, I guess you could say, or my mode of being, not really a mood, it's a mode of being. When I'm in my shamanic alchemist mode of being and I'm in godlike mastery, like really deep spiritual work, then I'll usually smoke some tobacco in my tobacco pipe, and then I'll meditate and, you know, do some active imagination and such there. Or I'll smoke some tobacco to celebrate. And sometimes I celebrate things before they happen, because here's the key thing with overcoming any addiction, or even trying to you know, lose weight or whatever. Instead of saying to yourself like, oh, you know, I'm trying to lose weight, or I'm trying to quit, or whatever the case is. Instead of saying it like that, because that's narrative structure that you're projecting in the symbolic narrative field, right? Instead of saying something like that, you can say to yourself, okay, well, I am losing weight. I am choosing to lose weight. What narrative structure do you want to project in the symbolic narrative field? Because like for me, one of my biggest hurdles, because I was so I'm 5'6", and I used to be nearly 200 pounds, and I am, which is like what, roughly 90 kilos or something, and I was like eating pizza and ice cream nearly every night, and I was playing Fortnite a lot, when during the good old Fortnite days when Fortnite was still, because I don't play video games anymore, really. I don't even remember the last time I played video games, probably like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Yeah, it's been a long time. I just create a lot more. And that's one thing about being celibate as well, is you just have more creative energy. I've been celibate for years. Years I've been celibate. And honestly, it's really not that difficult after a while. You just realize that it's much better for your own sanity to not get these ST demons from these women out here. And, maybe from, if you're a woman watching this and you're celibate, and you find this content interesting or compelling in some way, shape, or form, or relatable in some way, shape, or form, then yeah, you're gonna get ST demons from a lot of these dudes. A lot of these dudes are just watching corn all day, maybe not all day, but whenever they're home, they're watching corn, they're depleted coomers, they're worshiping the pink palace, and there's nothing that they can do other than to just, beat their meat. It's crazy. And then you'll have like these women who, let's just be honest, let's just be honest, they are, well, some of these women weigh more than a lot of the average men out here. That's just the truth. And I know that because I've seen it, and I've worked with women across the world in my one-on-one sessions and my godlike mastery, and these women are not all of them, of course, but there's been a couple that I've worked with over the years where it's like they can't stop putting things in their mouth. Like it's just and I mean that like across the board. That's just the way that it is, and they want to be, they want to be more healthy, but it's like they cannot stop putting food and y'all know what else in their mouth. And it's like, well, it's like, in Star Wars, when Yoda's like, oh, too old to begin their training, That's how it is for a lot of these women out here. They're too old to begin their training for like wifehood. And I'm not even saying that I want a wife. I'm not saying that I don't want a wife. I'm just saying that like a lot of these women are not even, they're so insecure, and they're going to try to make you feel insecure. Like as soon as you start leveling up in your life, watch how women start to really dislike the way that you're bettering yourself. Like it's just, and some of them who, they kicked you while you were down, and they didn't realize how attractive you could actually be and how much you could get your life together. They didn't want to bet on you as a horse, right? Because women basically bet on horses when it comes to relationships. For women, it's like, well, if that horse doesn't win, well, then I want the winner. It's just how they are. I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm saying it's right. I'm just saying that's how they are. And, I just really don't like living in a world where women, no matter what they do and how they do it, are considered to be these, angelic creatures. Well, you're fat, you're lazy. Oh, good for you. At least you're beautiful on the inside, right? No, they're not. They're not beautiful on the inside. A lot of them are not. And I'm not saying that like they can't be. Now look, the divine in me sees the divine in them. Don't get me wrong. I'm speaking on multiple planes of consciousness level right now. So don't get me wrong. I see their beauty and I see their divinity. However, I just don't respect a lot of the people, and even the men as well. Like, you ever met a man who's like your boss, and somehow this dude who just eats, you know, the whole kitchen, somehow he's got like, you know, more, maybe he's got more money, he's got more of this, he's got more of that, and you're just content, you know, being who you are. You don't mind that, you know, you're working, you're just doing your job, right? You're just doing your job. And these dudes who are not fit, who are not celibate, they are like out to get you, like you're targeted. That happens, you know, like in the workplace. If you're a fit celibate dude, oh my gosh, I've never met so much friction socially in the workplace than when I was still in the corporate world, and I was trying to, like, for the first time I was really, this was years ago, but like I was really trying to just not be a depleted goomer who was fat. And I started to better myself, and people were like, wait, what? Who do you think you are now? And I'm like, bitch, I'm the fucking king, man. What are you talking? Like, I'm the king of my own life. I'm not even saying that. That's just my mindset going into, you know, that. Because when I was playing Fortnite and I was eating pizza and ice cream years and years ago, you know, it came to a point where I had to make a decision, because I was playing Fortnite and I had just lost, barely. I just lost. I got second place. And I was so angry and upset. And I noticed how angry and upset I was at this screen. Like, I was just like upset at a screen. You know, if I looked around the room, there's nothing really to be upset about. So why am I so upset? You know, my mind was caught up in this dream world, you know, inside the video game. And I realized, I was like, wow, okay, well, I can keep being a loser and keep being, you know, someone that eats pizza and ice cream, playing video games, or I can start aiming to be a winner and start doing some push-ups. And so I threw away the pizza, I threw away the ice cream, I turned off the video games, and I started doing push-ups, and I started going to the gym the next day, and I started running to the gym at like 200 pounds. I was running to the gym in cold weather. Like, it was snowing outside. And the gym wasn't too far, granted. It was only like a mile. But still, you know, I was running to the gym. I was running to the gym in the cold. And then when I got there, I would do my thing. Because I was very athletic in high school. I'm actually very still athletic to this day. I'm in the best shape of my life to this day. Like, as far as generally speaking everything goes, I haven't been more healthy. Yeah, there's been some, you know, a few injuries and such. Nothing crazy though, you know, nothing that will stop me. And the way that I see it is, I command abundance. You know, I command this energy. I command godlike mastery from myself, because that's what the soul of existence has commanded to me. The soul of existence meaning God, by the way. I call it the soul of existence. So here's the thing that I really want to leave you with is, what narrative structure do you have that are you projecting into the symbolic narrative field that maybe you'd like to change, or maybe you want to re-examine? Because a lot of you, and me myself, like, I'm not speaking, when I'm speaking about you, I'm also speaking about me in some ways, because when I point, like, it's all us. I see us all as one being sharing this common life. You know, we are one soul expressing itself in different forms and spirits, just the way that I see it. And I've had a lot more peace with that than this illusion of separateness that is perpetuating the society. That's why I'm at war with the religionists. That's why I'm at war with the government and the politicians, as well as the education system. And that's why I have, you know, the Godlike Mastery offer. That's why I have the Regal Academies, because these are going to be tools and services that people who want proper education, unfiltered information that is not going to be swamped by fallacies of the collective consciousness, that's where they're going to go. Like, I want people to know that if you want the real deal, like, this is not Depleted Coomer Academy. Okay, this is not, this is Regal Academy. You know, when in my Godlike Mastery offer, this is not average Joe mastery. This is Godlike Mastery. Okay, so I want people to know that if you want Godlike Mastery, you want regality, you want Regal Academia, Thaddeus, the Regal Change, the Regal Shaman, the Regal Shamanic Alchemist, that's where you go. That's where you go to. Because he's got the full sack in all ways, shapes, and forms. Oh, man. I make myself laugh sometimes. But anyways, you know, check your narrative structures and see what exactly you want to project in the symbolic narrative field. And with that being said, peace be with you all. Be blessed. Until next time.